On April 5, 2025, thousands of demonstrators took to the streets in cities across the country under the banner of the Hands Off movement, a coordinated protest aimed at opposing Donald Trump's return to power and what organizers claim is a threat to democracy. But behind the signs and slogans lies a deeper political strategy. As we break down who organized these protests, how they were funded, and the involvement of top Democratic figures, a clear pattern emerges, one that raises questions about the true purpose behind the movement. The 2025 hands-off protests were primarily organized by MoveOn, Indivisible, and Third Act, all of which are openly progressive and operationally tied to democratic advocacy. Their involvement wasn't incidental. These groups have coordinated Democratic-aligned protest actions for years, particularly during Republican administrations. But these protests weren't just organized, they were also well-funded, hinting at deeper strategic banking. Logistical scale of the protests, from transportation to coordinated signage, suggests substantial financial and infrastructural support. Groups like MoveOn and Indivisible rely on Act Blue, the Democratic Party's exclusive fundraising platform. This access allows them to mobilize resources quickly and at scale, often with backing from established donors and activist networks. The funding was just one layer. The political support from top Democratic lawmakers was another key signal of alignment. The top Democratic lawmakers not only voiced support, they became part of the protest narrative itself. Senator Cory Booker's 25th-hour Senate speech held in parallel with the demonstrations. At the same time, Representatives Jamie Raskin, Ilhan Omar, and Maxwell Frost spoke at public rallies, unifying their messages with those of the organizers. Their involvement showed that this was more than external activism. It was a coordinated echo within the halls of power. Their speeches were amplified by a tidal wave of digital support, with coordinated messaging across every major platform. The protests dominated the online conversation with trending hashtags like #HandsOffDemocracy and Resist Trump. Organizers distributed digital kits ahead of the protests, including printable signs, pre-written tweets, and story templates. This mirrors digital organizing strategies used by Democratic-aligned groups in the past. But even as some protests turned volatile, leading Democrats avoided any strong criticism, instead standing by the movement's intent. Despite incidents of confrontation and property damage in cities like Portland and Washington, D.C., Democratic leaders remained largely silent on the unrest. Instead of condemnation, statements emphasized the protests as expressions of democratic resistance. And this unified approach, from the streets to the Senate, raises deeper questions about political orchestration beneath the surface. The scale and fury of the 2025 protests could mark a critical blow to Trump's national image. Millions took to the streets, not just to oppose policies, but to declare him a danger to democracy itself. That kind of messaging, amplified by media and high-profile figures, may stick in the public psyche in a way Trump can't easily spin. For the first time in years, he's not just facing political pushback, he's facing a nationwide branding crisis. If the protests keep growing, he risks being seen not as the outsider hero, but as the instigator of national unrest. That narrative, once cemented, could bleed support even from independents and soft conservatives, and potentially derail any comeback ambitions. The hands-off protests were presented as a public response to Trump's return, but the involvement of Democrat-aligned groups, funding platforms, and politicians shows there's more to the story. These protests weren't just spontaneous. They were organized, well-funded, and politically backed. As they continue, they could play a major role in shaping how the public sees Trump and his future in American politics. Is this the start of a larger political strategy? And how far will it go? Subscribe for more such videos.